Hello and welcome to the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. My name is Rim. I'm an artist, a certified life coach and an NLP practitioner, and the creator of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative retreats. Passionate about celebrating joy and beauty in the everyday, especially when things are falling apart, I'm insatiably curious about human nature, and I look into the world with reverence, awe, and a sense of wonder. Tune in for stories exploring healing through creativity, art, embracing sensitivity, and navigating the subconscious mind. I'll talk about the struggles that highly sensitive and creative people face, and share my experiences, insights, and favorite tools along the way. I'm here to empower you to turn what we often deem to be a curse into your biggest gift. I believe that the more we create together, the more we heal the world. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative podcast. I'm so happy and grateful for you tuning in. Hello! Today I want to talk about self-abandonment and specifically how it relates to highly sensitive people and empath. But first I want to say thank you for all of you who reached out and told me how much you enjoyed the podcast and how it resonated with you. That means a lot to me. I have no idea actually. It really makes me happy and it encourages me to keep going, and it stimulates my creative juices. In fact, it gives me even more ideas, especially like when you share with me like how you had similar experiences or some challenges you're going through. Then it helps me to, brainstorm and think about what episode I will record or what I'm gonna talk about next. And so it's like, it feels like it's a community effort. I love that. Brainstorming with each other and getting the conversation moving, and it's nourishing. It's like nurturing the podcast, because after all, we're all empowered, sensitive and creative souls here, at least on the path of becoming. And if you feel called to it, if you would like to do something for me, a little something, it would just take you 2 minutes, is to leave me a review. You can leave it on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That would really mean a lot to me, and more than that, it would help other people find my podcast. It would help other sensitive souls to feel less lonely and to feel heard and understood, and then our community can grow. Thank you so much in advance for that. And now let's get back to today's topic, self-abandonment and high sensitive people. Perhaps you're not familiar with that term, self-abandonment, but I'm pretty sure you have experienced some feelings, some sensation in your body that were signs of self-abandonment. So it could look like feeling tightness in your body, as in when you're feeling small, shrinking, or a sensation of cringe when you have a lot of resentment, irritability, when you feel passive-aggressive, when you feel drained, exhausted, depressed. I'm not saying all that feeling depressed is always linked to self-abandonment. I'm not talking about clinical depression here. I'm not talking about like when your mood is depressed, when you feel depressed. Feeling of shame and guilt and intense regret. Also when you have those like when you have a situation, past situation that is looping in your head, and you're kind of playing this scenario on repeat and telling yourself that you shouldn't have answered this, or you shouldn't have done this, or what would have happened if you had done this, or if somebody had said that, and so on and so on. Trying to replay the same past scenario, the same play, the same scene, but trying to replay, like you want to change the scenario, but actually you cannot. It's like it's stuck, like the record is stuck, and it's just looping and looping and looping. Also having a lot of anxiety, can be a sign of self-abandonment, and feeling irritable. I know I felt all of those. Sometimes many of these symptoms at once. Sometimes it's one more than the other. I'm gonna give some specific examples, but first I wanna say that it's pretty common amongst high sensitive people to self-abandon, and it's not our fault. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I know that we love to punish ourselves for not being perfect in so many ways, but really, how could we not how can we not self-abandon ourselves when we see that we live in a culture in which sensitivity is viewed as a weakness? For the most part, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot. It's changing now. I think it's changing. I can sense it's changing, but it still takes a lot of time, and we're still a long way from a healthy society, definitely. Self-abandonment is often learned in childhood through emotional neglect, invalidation, or abuse that impedes upon our ability to learn about our emotions and how to take care of ourselves, especially how to take care of ourselves in times of discomfort. I think it's really like not having learned how to be okay with what is and how to be okay when things are not smooth. And honestly, things are not smooth very often. So that's really important. I think it's a very important tool, very important topic for high sensitive people. It's even more when you live in an unpredictable, chaotic, or abusive family, you learn to hide your true self because your safety depends on your caregivers, and therefore you learn that you need to behave according to their expectations or according to their standards. Otherwise, you may be punished or your safety may be threatened. And therefore, you begin acting like a chameleon, morphing into whatever role will keep the peace and will help you avoid being mocked, being punished through physical or emotional pain. If your parents don't know how to deal with their own feelings and emotions, they will not know how to deal with yours, and therefore you learn to suppress your feelings and needs. If your parents are perfectionists and they have very high standard, then you learn that your worth depends on what you accomplish or do. And somehow it seems to be never enough. If your parents are scared of emotions, of emotional display, then you will learn that it's unsafe. Then being emotional, feeling too much is a bad thing. Maybe it's even dangerous for your safety, and therefore you suppress. Maybe it's even not your parents. Maybe your parents are very healthy, but society around you, school. I know, I definitely was judged at school for being too shy or being too sensitive, being too being too emotional. And well, children, when they are being mocked, they usually think it's their fault. And the problem with being like a chameleon, trying to morph, trying to be what you think people, adults, or other kids, teachers want you to be or need you to be, is that you lose touch with yourself, with who you are, and then you grow up not knowing really who you are, and you grow up not knowing how to take care of your needs. You grow up not knowing how to deal with your emotions. It becomes really painful, and as years go by, you end up finding yourself very far away from yourself. And maybe you're gonna tell me, but Rim, I know very well who I am, and I take care of myself. But really, how well do you know yourself? And more than that, okay, knowing yourself well is one thing, but how well do you take care of yourself? And when I say take care of yourself, I'm not meaning, this individualistic way of, oh, I take care of my needs and I don't need anyone around me and I can do it all and I'm a very independent person. Okay, that's one thing. That's good. I mean, it's good to be able to take care of yourself in that way. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about taking care of yourself, taking care of your soul, taking care of your emotions, taking care of so many things. I'm going to talk about this now, so let's see. But I want to stress a very important point, and it's something that I think I'm saying this almost at every podcast, that the most important relationship in your life is the one you have with yourself. Because, at the end of the day, you will always be you with yourself. I mean, I hate it to break it to you, but you're stuck with yourself until you're no longer there, until the end, until death, basically. So you might as well get on with yourself and really learn how to be content with yourself and feel good in your skin, in your human home, which is your body and all that's in it, your brain, your organs, your soul, your heart, your mind, everything. Your senses, obviously, as a highly sensitive person. It's also about forming a happy relationship with your sensitivity, with your senses, with your emotions, with your feelings. So, what are ways we self abandon? When we don't keep promises to ourselves. I know I've done this a lot. I'm full of good intentions. Very often I have this urge within me that tells me I need to change things and I need to improve and I need to grow and I want to. And then I say I'm going to do this and that and this and that. And then a day goes by, 2 days go by, 1 week go by, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 1 year, 2 years. I think you get my meaning. And I haven't done it. I haven't done the things I said I would do. I found excuses for not doing them. I did this with art, with drawing. Like I've always drawn. When I was a kid, I loved to draw. I mentioned this also in a previous episode, especially the first 3 episodes where I talk about my journey. But basically, I'm going to try to make it short, but I grew up learning how to draw. Like my parents didn't teach me to deal with my emotions, but they did teach me how to get in touch with my creative spirit, which is lovely. I know that was a beautiful gift that they gave me. But because I didn't know how to deal with my emotions, later when I grew up and when I became an adult and I was faced with rejection, criticism, anxiety from, the anxiety or the difficulties that come with becoming an adult and entering the workplace, and having relationships with others, especially romantic relationships, and all of that. I began to drift away from that. I drifted away from drawing for pleasure and from expressing my creativity. And I remember for many years I was telling myself, I want to go back to drawing. I want to go back to doing something purely artistic, purely creative for the sake of it, without deadlines, without work schedules. Because I was working in fashion, so I was still doing something creative. But honestly, it was not, like I realized after a while, it's not that creative. At least it didn't honor my needs of creativity. So anyway, like I was saying, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go back to drawing. I'm gonna go back to drawing. And it took me many years. I was always finding excuses for not doing it. I don't have time. I'm busy. I need to make money. That's not realistic. I mean, my drawings anyway, who cares? As if I was doing that for somebody else. No, that's what I learned. So that's what I mean also by self-abandonment. When you do something for you just because you want it, because you need it, because you crave it, not because it's expected, not because somebody else is going to validate it, not because somebody else needs it. Then, of course, it ends up being also helpful and useful for others. That's great, but that's not the main purpose. And that leads me to, from where we don't keep promises to ourselves, that also leads me to when we neglect our passions. That's really important. Sensitive people need to have things that have meaning, and they need to not process, but like make sense of life, of what's going around us. And our passions are usually linked to something like that, some kind of expression, some kind of creative expression. Although I want to say, if your passion is playing puzzle, why depriving yourself from it? Yeah, I remember having a client who told me he loves singing, but somehow he would never give himself space and time to do that. And also, actually, you don't need time to sing. Just when you wake up and you take a shower, that's the simple one. Sing in the shower. He was depriving himself of doing something that gives him joy. I think many of us do that. We forget how to be in touch with what gives us joy and pleasure. For me, how did I compensate this need for joy and pleasure was through unhealthy unhealthy relationships, um, or numbing with food, eating, like throwing out my emotional needs in food or in sometimes alcohol. Like I've never been, disclaimer, I've never been an alcoholic, not never, but I did overindulge at times. So also that's something, like when you drink just for the sake of drinking, not because you want to enjoy a glass of wine, not because you love it and it goes well with your meal and something like that. Or when you drink because you feel the pressure to do it. You go out with your friends and everybody's drinking, so you might as well drink as well. So I might as well, that's also a big sign of over abandoning yourself. One way I did it too is with like with food. If you used to buy a cake or something sweet, I have a sweet tooth, so I would tell myself, like I would try to set a boundary and would say, no, I'm just gonna have one slice, or I'm just gonna have one piece of chocolate. And then I would do that, and then, well, there's two slices left, it's not gonna be good tomorrow, it's not gonna be that fresh, so I might as well have it, I might as well finish it now. Let's get done with it, like let's get it done, let's get, like I didn't think about, like the excuse was, I don't think about my well-being, I don't think that I'm gonna feel stuffed and sick afterwards and tired and all of that. I just think that, well, it's a pity to get to waste, so I might as well finish it. So the notion of not wasting food is more important than my well-being in that sense. And many of us have been raised, my generation, we've been raised with parents telling us that that we should not waste food, and therefore we need to finish it, and we overstuff ourselves to please our parents, and because we want to be good, reasonable, persisting in doing what someone else says we should do, exactly like that. For example, mom knows best, so I might as well do it, so I should do it. Experts know best. The marketing guru, all these marketing gurus say that I should do like this to sell my program, sell my projects, so I should do it. Like if you're an artist, well, my teachers at university say that I should only be represented by serious galleries and that selling my work directly is bad, so I should not do it, for example. Society knows best. Culture, best friends. My best friend said that I should give this guy another chance, so I might as well, for example. My parents, my mom say I'm too difficult. My mom says I'm too picky, so maybe I should give him another chance. My partner said that blah, 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 so probably I should da, 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 da. Outsourcing our decisions, asking everyone around what to do. I remember some stages in my life when I was so far away from myself, so dysregulated. I was such in a state of anxiety, and this was, I'm thinking, most of the time when I was in some sort of trauma bonding relationships and toxic work environment. And that was so traumatic for me, for my sensitivity, for my nervous system, for everything, that I was not able to get in touch with my higher self, with my inner guidance. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't listen to it. And I was asking everyone around what to do, what's their opinion. Is that normal? Is it normal that my boss said this and that? Is it normal that people scream during meetings? Is that normal that they treat people so poorly? Is that normal that I feel so drained after work that the only thing that helps me to rest is to drink so then I can go to sleep? Is it normal that I spend the whole weekend trying to recover from the week? Ignoring red flags is self-abandonment. Ignoring our inner guidance, ignoring the little voice within that says, that's strange, that doesn't add up, that doesn't make sense, there is something weird about this person, about this situation, and still going for it. Codependency, helping everyone around and having no time left for ourselves. I'm thinking especially about moms, busy moms who my mom was like that. It's not her fault. Like, I'm not judging her. She did the best she could according to her situation and to her childhood. She was raised in a codependent family anyway, so she was trained to think that it was normal. And she would always spend so much time taking care of everybody else's needs that she forgot about herself. She also lost touch with her inner artist for many, many, many years, thinking that, she needed to care for everyone else but her husband, her parents, her siblings, her kids, her students as well. Until she realized one day that actually she was empty because, taking care of everyone else didn't bring us fulfillment. It didn't make people more grateful to her. It's quite the opposite. People are quite ungrateful that way. And she realized that it's not that she had wasted her life, no, but like she woke up and she thought, oh, what about me and what about my dreams? I need to do them now. So exactly, like if you're a mom and you're spending all of your time, like it's also a way to, I think it's also a way of making an excuse. Like I can't take 5 minutes for myself. I cannot take a bath. I cannot meditate. I have my kids to take care of. I mean, I don't have children. I know, I know, but I still think it's an excuse because I'm sure you can find 5 minutes. You can ask your partner, or you can ask a friend, you can ask if you have enough um, means, you can hire a nanny, you can ask your family to help you at least 10 minutes. Okay, I said 5 minutes, but if you can find 10 minutes for yourself. But so often we're so stressed out, so busy, so trying to compensate that we forget, that we even don't realize that we can shape time according to our needs. Not always, but some part of the day at least. And speaking about spending a lot of time doing something for others, helping everyone around, there is also another way centered on ourselves, but it's overdoing, overworking, over-exercising, overdoing anything. I shared in the previous episode how I used to overdo my self-help stuff. Kind of addicted to self-help and to inner growth, which is also unhealthy, and it's also a way of abandoning myself because I can never give myself a chance to actually grow if I'm just feeding myself helplessly, like restlessly and helplessly. It's like, it's out of a desire to fix myself or to ignore my feelings, ignore the discomfort of growth, because growing is not comfortable. You have these growth spurs where, well, you're trying to change your habits, but you don't really know how to do it. You haven't done it before. You haven't been trained. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. The brain is used to behave a certain way, and when you disrupt that, well, it's a lot to deal with. So extreme busyness is a way of self-abandoning. Perfectionism is also a way of abandoning ourselves. Trying too hard, making life so difficult for ourselves, having standards so high that we can never reach them. it's so disheartening. It's like deciding before that anyway we can never make it. We it's never enough. We're never good enough. That's a way of abandoning ourselves. The opposite is also self-abandonment. Having no standards at all, giving away our power, being a doormat, people pleasing, laziness, apathy, not doing anything for yourself, knowing, like letting yourself go, not taking care of your body, of your health, of your appearance. I think, like, for example, forcing yourself to wear the same ugly clothes that you wore 10 years ago just because, it's not important. I think it's self-abandonment. Just as just going in the shops and buying new clothes all the time is also self-abandonment. So the two extremes, not taking care of yourself, not honoring yourself. Oversharing is self-abandonment, is when we don't know where we end and when others begin. That's not having a clear sense of our identity, lacking self-respect, not thinking, like not honoring what is sacred and private. Also, minding people's business is also a clear sign of not knowing your boundaries. Acting as a doormat, people pleasing and acting as a doormat is a way of abandoning ourselves. I remember a friend telling me when she was young, she said, "Oh, if a guy," because she had been single for a while, and she was craving love from a man. She was craving this attention, validation, and I remember she told me, "Well, if a guy asked me to run across Paris to meet him, I will do it." And I was telling her, "No, why? Like you can't." That's lack of self-respect. What about your self-esteem? How can you just be at the beck and call of the guy? And she was, "Well, there are situations when one needs to sit on her self-esteem, on one's self-esteem." I remember this feeling I felt in my body of like cringe and shrinking just thinking about this. Like, I could feel her emotions, obviously, and I could imagine myself doing that, and I was like, "Oh my god, no." That's like abandoning my needs, putting someone on a pedestal, making his needs higher than mine. And that's an extreme example, but are there ways in which you also sit on your self-esteem, on your self-respect? Are there ways you make somebody else's needs higher, more important than yours? And that leads me to not quitting situations that are bad, toxic for us. When we stay too long in a toxic job situation because we are too scared, because we think we have no choice, maybe we think we deserved it. Punishing ourselves by actions or by criticizing ourselves all the time. Spending time in the company of people who drain us. I gave the example earlier that, like, going to a party and drinking because, well, everybody's drinking, you might as well do it. Sometimes it's also, it's Saturday night, poof, let's have fun, let's drink. But that's also self-abandoning, because did you stop asking yourself whether you really wanted it? Is it gonna make you feel good? Is it gonna make you feel satisfied? Are you not, But also staying with people, like hanging out with people just for the sake of hanging out. Well, for example, Saturday night, well, I have nothing else to do, so I might as well go with them, even though maybe you even don't want to. Maybe you don't feel like it. Maybe you even don't like them. For me, I did that for sure, but also it's like I'm sure many of you have felt this, have been in this situation, attracting people who overshare, attracting people who have a lot of trouble and who think that you are their therapist. Oh my God, I've been there so many times. Like, I'm trying to be, already I'm saying I'm trying to be kind. That's the proof that I'm self-abandoning myself. When I'm trying to be something instead of just being. So now I pay more attention to that, actually. When I'm thinking I'm trying to, I know it's a sign. I'm like, okay, Rim, hold on, you need to recenter. But basically, what I wanted to say is, like, when I was younger, I wanted to be nice. I tried to be nice. I tried to be polite. Trying to be polite, by the way, also. Woohoo. But um, like I would attract people who talk to me, and because I want to be nice, I want to be polite. I'm also interested. I don't want to um, push that away. Like I'm genuinely interested by other people's lives and stories and all of that. But sometimes enough is enough. I'm not a therapist, and if people keep oversharing and talking without paying attention, like also without sending me back the ball in the conversation, so it's like they're talking and I'm just receiving. That's very draining for me, because for me a conversation is back and forth. It's an exchange between two people. But because I thought that I was supposed to give that to people, like I was supposed to like their need is more important than my need, basically, because maybe they're suffering more than me or whatever. I would stay, and I would not dare to say, okay, thank you very much, but now I need to go. It took me many years to reach the point where I was like, okay, I'm done with the conversation. Bye. Thank you very much. I have to go. And I think this is a struggle that so many of empath and sensitivist soul go through. We don't like to be unkind, and we feel a lot of empathy for other people's sorrows. Cowardice is another way to abandon ourselves. Not daring to stand up for ourselves. Not daring to act, to show up when it's needed. There is a lot. I wrote a list so that I wouldn't forget everything. So now I'm going through my list. I think I said them all. Basically, oh yeah, prioritizing should, must, need over want, like, and love. I should do this. I should work out. I must eat healthy. I need to find a partner. These are examples. Over I want, like, love. So I want to eat healthy. I like to work out. I love sharing and exchanging with others. I love learning from others. Do you see what I mean? That's a very, like, it's crazy how this shift of should, must, need from want, like, love can change a lot to your energy. Actually, I think it would be good if you try right now. Think like you can make a list of all the things you're telling yourself that you should, must, and need do, and try to switch them with want, like, love, and see how you feel. Like, pay attention to, like, you can separate a piece of paper in two columns, and then if you do the one should, must, need, like, stay with that, like, say the sentences and feel, see how you feel, see how your body feels, and then in the next column you can switch to want, like, love, and see how you feel. So anyway, all of that are ways we give our power away. And now you might say, okay, very nice. Now, Rim, I feel super anxious. I feel stressed out, and like, oh my God, all the ways I abandon myself. That's terrible. But please, no, that's not my point. I think, like, awareness is the first key, is the first step towards changing things around. You know how I always talk about being kind to yourself, reparent yourself, showing compassion? Exactly. So in this situation, when you notice that you're abandoning yourself in so many instances, maybe it's just one, maybe it's several, maybe it's all of them. I can say for sure, honestly, oh, for sure, I've done all of them at some point, for sure. And as I said earlier, society is pretty toxic, is pretty unbalanced and dysfunctional. Most of us have had dysfunctional family dynamics. No surprise then that we don't know how to trust ourselves, how we don't know to assert ourselves, how we don't know to be okay with discomfort, that we don't know how to process our emotions. It's like the byproducts of our culture. So does it mean that that's just the way it is and we can't do anything about it? No, not at all. We can change this way of doing. We can learn how to trust ourselves. It's totally possible, and you can do it too. Perhaps you're familiar with Seven Steps program. It's a great framework. It's first step is awareness, then surrender, then readiness, then receptivity, acceptance, perspective, action. I haven't really followed seven-step programs. I think the first one was Alcoholic Anonymous. I haven't followed it because, as I said, I've never identified as being an alcoholic. But as a child of an alcoholic, I have had my own addiction. And then, I said my family was pretty dysfunctional and codependent. And therefore, well, I inherited a lot of that. But what I wanted to say was I discovered several years ago CODA, which is Codependency Anonymous, and it was created following the similar framework as Alcoholic Anonymous. And it's quite interesting. There are some CODA meetups in many countries, and you can also do it online. You can join some meetups online, and they all follow the same framework. I'm not gonna through that in depth today, but just I wanted to share this because I think it could be useful if it resonates with you. For me, what I found was working and helpful with me and my clients, my coaching clients, was like first step. So this one is close to the 7-step program, is awareness. So it's like noticing when you're abandoning yourself. For me, that looks like when I notice I'm trying to escape. It's like escaping myself, basically. I say, oh, here's Rim forgetting about her needs, without judging myself. And that's hard. That's less hard now, but it was hard initially. Immediately, my inner critic would be like, blah, 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 blah. Rim is forgetting about her needs. She's such a bad woman. She's just a bad girl. She's naughty. She's screwing it again and again and all of that. So then I would also notice myself, judging myself. So that would be, oh, here's Rim forgetting about her needs. And then that would be, oh, here's Rim judging herself. And that's it. And then I would practice stopping there, because just noticing calms down. It helps us to calm down. We feel less activated. It's like giving a voice to the inner activity, to the inner thought, not keeping it as a thought, voicing it. When we voice it out, suddenly we can be more aware of it. It's like, oh wow. It sounds like almost as if somebody else said it. And if somebody said that to you, you may notice more than when it's yourself saying it to yourself. And then getting curious of our feelings. So, as I said, like, oh, Rim is judging herself. Why? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? And what do I need right now? What is this feeling trying to compensate for? For example, some days when I record the podcast on the recording day, I know I'm going to record it, and I feel a bit of tightness in my stomach and in my throat, and I feel a little bit anxious, like, oh, I feel a bit stressed out, or I feel a bit of pressure. So I'm asking myself that. I'm saying, okay, I'm feeling a bit of pressure. I'm feeling a bit stressed. What do I need? And then I understand that, oh, okay, I feel like I have to perform. I have to get it right. And then I'm like, oh, okay, why do I feel this need to perform, to get it right? And then the answer comes directly. It's like, oh, because I feel like what I have to say is not enough, or I think that what I have to say is not correct, that I might be wrong, or maybe that I might be misunderstood. Somehow I feel like I need to know everything. And if I don't know everything, then I will be somehow failing. I would not be, like, people would not accept what I have to say. They will not trust me. I will feel shame, maybe even. And okay, when I said that, okay, I'm like, okay, this is the proof I'm actually trying to escape and self-abandoning me right now. So what do I need? What is the need? What is my emotional need? I need to feel safe. I need to feel understood. I need to feel accepted and validated for the way I am, for who I am. So I give it to myself. I say to myself all these things that I need. I can tell myself, Rim, you are safe. Rim, you are enough. Rim, you are worthy. I remind myself that I am worthy. I remind myself that I don't need to be perfect and all of that. So for you, that's another exercise. Ask yourself, what am I feeling throughout the day and what do I need? What do I need right now? Perhaps you're not able to give it to yourself right away because this is a process, it takes time, but you can already practice staying present with your feelings. And the next step is practicing no judgment, then practice acceptance and compassion. But when we've had a lot of trauma, it can be really hard to do it on our own, for sure. It can be so difficult to stay with overwhelm with difficult emotions. Working with a therapist or a coach can make a big difference. For me, I followed therapy for a while, but what really worked for me was working with a coach over 6 months, and she's also a sensitive person, so she could understand me. And I can tell you it's been life changing. It's really, really important to work with a professional who can hear you, understand you without judgment, who can hold a mirror to yourself, but without any enmeshment, any like somebody who is neutral, somebody who doesn't know you personally, who doesn't have they don't have bias towards you, because sometimes we try to do that with friends, but it's not the same. It's never can never be 100% neutral with friends. Another tool that is really great is meditation. Meditation is an opportunity to sit down, to relax, to pause, to slow down and to be with yourself, to dive inward, to connect with your inner guidance and to calm your thoughts. Meditation, I say sit down, but you don't have to sit down. You can do a walking meditation. And I know many people resist meditation, and I certainly did at the beginning. It's difficult many of you tell me actually, oh, I don't like meditation because I cannot stop thinking. But you don't have to stop thinking. As I said, like just witness and accept, surrender to what is, surrender to the fact that you have a lot of thoughts. That's okay. But with a practice, with meditation practice, we learn that to separate ourselves from our thoughts. Like we are not our thoughts and our feelings are not going to kill us. That's why it's important. With meditation, what can happen is our conscious mind try to protect us. So rationally, logically, we try to protect ourselves. Like, oh, it doesn't work for me, or I cannot stop thinking. It's a waste of time. Like so many thoughts can come up. These are like the objections from the conscious mind. And then the subconscious mind try to protect ourselves by activating our resistance and dysregulation, like stress, because we didn't learn it was okay to be quiet and to be with ourselves, and therefore subconscious can see it as a threat for all the reasons I explained earlier in the podcast. So another tool that is great is hypnosis. And in fact, hypnosis is a deep meditation. It is a sort of meditation, and it just takes you deeper into a relaxing mode. And because it's a guided, like it's a voice guiding you, it's a bit with music. I like to do it with music personally, with theta waves. It helps to remove the barriers, the resistance barriers that we can consciously put. When it's done well, hypnosis and meditation are like or guided meditation, let's say, they are a respectful, neutral guide taking you to a journey within. It's supposed to be gentle, and it's really about a journey. It's about exploring yourself, exploring your inner world. And speaking of which, I've created for me and my coaching clients, I've created a series of hypnosis, deep meditation hypnosis audios, and I've decided to release them online to give you access to them should you want to, should you feel called to it. For the moment, I have the higher self meditation, which is great. It helps you to get to know your higher self, which is that place within that doesn't feel threatened, that feels strong and secure and at peace and joyful, no matter what. It's like your guidance, really, your inner compass. And I have also the self-soothing meditation, which is a beautiful meditation taking you on a journey of self-love and self-compassion, and helps to calm down and regulate your nervous system. If you would like to know more about them, you can go to my website, rimcreativeenergy.com/shop-meditation. I will also put a link on the show notes. And if you have questions about it and would like to know more, please do reach out. I would love to tell you more about it. Another step in helping yourself to process your emotions and to help yourself to build self-trust is to do inner child work. Inner child is like reparenting yourself and give yourself all the love and care you need. Also give your inner child. I believe we all have an inner child within. And have you noticed how, like when you look at yourself in the mirror, very often you can just see yourself as a child, like you haven't changed. You still have similar expressions. Okay, you got older, you got mature, but you still have the same expressions. And some of the activities you used to do as a child, you would still enjoy them now. If you do them now, you will remember. You're like, oh yes, I used to love this, and actually it still gives me a lot of joy. And also when I look at photos, and when I look at people, I see them as children. Or very often I imagine, I can see it. I can see him when he was a little child. He would look like this and that, and I can see the hair and everything. And that's funny. I wonder. I'm curious if you also do that. When you see adults around you, you can imagine them as children. But anyway, coming back to the inner child healing. So it's like really giving your inner child, who still is within you, all the love and care that they needed. If your parents didn't teach you this, or didn't pay attention to your needs, didn't give you love, you can give this to yourself. Now you're an adult, you can take care of yourself. What's been done has been done. We cannot go back to the past, but you can still change. You can still nurture yourself. And by the way, hypnosis can help with that too. Also, shadow work. This is facing your darkness, learning to accept and love all of you, the light, the beauty, and the dark, the ugly. I say ugly because that's usually how we think some dark things about ourselves are. It's ugly, but it doesn't have to be bad. Like ugly, it doesn't have to be bad. As humans, we're all light and dark. For each trait we display, there is the positive side of it and the so-called negative side of it. We just need to embrace it and accept it. And then another step to build self-trust is to allow yourself to be creative, quirky, and you, just uniquely you. Taking time to discover who you are, express yourself, draw, paint, dance, sing, doodle, laugh, make jokes, wear the clothes you're secretly dying to, travel if you want to travel, learn the languages you want to learn, even if you think it's weird and useless. Just go for it. And it doesn't have to be in public. You can just do it for yourself in your own sanctuary. Practice standing up for yourself is the next stage or next step. Getting clear on your needs, your values, draw a line on the sand, what you can accept and will no longer accept, and then setting boundaries, implement these boundaries, throw in a bit of self-discipline, reward yourself when you've done all of that. Like reward yourself when you keep promises to yourself, but not with self-abandoning behaviors, like not eating 3 slices of cake or the whole bottle of champagne. Like reward yourself in a healthy way, healthy for you, not healthy according to what society says it is. And take note of all your victories, small or big. So often we forget to congratulate ourselves. We think it's being too full of yourself or being pretentious, or we tend to downplay ourselves so much. Oh, that's not a big deal. But each victory, small or big, is a proof for your subconscious that you matter, that you're on the path of being the true you, and it contributes to building self-trust. Connecting to nature helps to be grounded, and by getting to know nature, we get to know ourselves. By tapping into our senses that are so keen and developed as sensitive people, let's tap into those, learning how they can serve us instead of just dwelling on how they occurs. If we connect to them and learn to accept them, to love them, and to use them to our advantage, and to create something meaningful, then this also helps to build trust in ourselves. Like, don't abandon your senses, don't abandon your gift, but build on them, honor them, nurture them, grow them. And finally, community. Sharing with people going through similar experiences, feeling seen, appreciated, understood, respected, supporting each other, sharing with compassion and empathy without being judged, connecting with other HSPs and empath, other creative souls. That's so nurturing and that's so healing. It's really beautiful to be witnessed by other human beings, because how I say it's good, like the relationship to yourself is so important. It's the most important. Yes, that's true. And what's also true is that we are human beings and we are social animals. We also need each other. And we are all connected anyway. We are different, yet we are similar. We go through the same human experience while we're here on Earth. We go through similar experiences. And so the relationship we develop with ourselves is like a template for the relationships we have with others. This I talked about in my previous episode as well, about silence and solitude, and how learning to be alone could help us to be more present with others. If you haven't listened to it, I suggest you to do it. So yes, there is something really, really beautiful and incredibly healing to be witnessed by other souls, people on the same wavelength. Obviously, not everyone is at the same is on the same path at the same time. So connecting with similar, like-minded people who go through similar things, who understand what it's like to be a highly sensitive souls, who understand what it is to be an empath, who understand what it is to be very creative. That's why I created the Empowered, Sensitive and Creative Retreats. I want to really give you a safe space close to nature in a beautiful location, because, well, for us, beauty is so important and our environment is so important. But with like-minded people, I want a place so that for you and I to connect and to get back to our true selves and learn how to trust ourselves, how to develop inner guidance, how to express our creativity, how to connect to our senses. And there will be a retreat in next June 2024 in France, in beautiful Provence. If you're interested, I also put the link in the show notes so that you can read more about it. If you also want to discuss, don't forget that you can book a free chat with me. We have about 20 minutes, half an hour, where you can ask me all the questions you want about the retreat, and I will be more than happy to tell you more. And I was thinking, I understand that retreats are not something possible for everyone. Not everyone is able to take 5, 6 days, 7 days off, and especially if you're not based in France or in Europe. If you're in other parts of the world, I know some of you listen to this podcast from Australia, China, Canada, the US. By the way, I want to say that's so amazing. I love that. I love to connect with people from all around the world. But anyway, I wanted to say, I understand not everyone can do it. So I was thinking to do an online retreat. Before that, I'm curious, are you interested with that? Is that something that could serve you? Please let me know. I look forward to hearing from your thoughts, and that's it for today. I hope this was inspiring for you. Please, if you recognize yourself in these self-abandonment behaviors, please do not criticize yourself, do not judge yourself for that. It's totally human. We all do that. The most important to know is to trust that it doesn't have to be like this forever. And remember, the way to balance is to put one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and by being unbalanced, you find balance. So one foot on the ground, then the next, and by going the distance, you create balance. It's the same with behaviors and with change. It's little things that add up. I wish you a beautiful end of week and speak to you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if it has inspired you, please share it around you. Also, if you feel called to it, please subscribe to the podcast and leave me a review. It really helps to spread the word out. All your questions are welcome. You can send them to me on Instagram at rim.creativenergy.com or email me via my website rimcreativenergy.com. And don't worry, I'll share in the show notes exactly where to find me. Until next time, sending you loving creative energy.